A woman claiming her ancestors' gravesite was desecrated is blaming Shenandoah Valley Regional Airport. Janice Allen says that the burial plot dates back to the 1700s.
When I was 16 years of age, my grandfather took me to that particular location and said, "This is the cursed family cemetery." I'm very concerned about ancestry, so I'm also in the process of being admitted to the Daughters of American Revolution.
Allen is a realtor who has also worked in genealogy research for more than 50 years.
This is very important to me because it's a tragic situation and someone should pay or be compensated. And I think a lot of people should think about this because of the horrendous situation.
This photo was taken in 1998. Even then, the cemetery needed lawn care. Trees and the wrought iron fence were intact, but the grass swallowed most of the tombstones.
When I got to the cursed location, which is actually on the property currently owned by the Shenandoah Valley Regional Airport, I was shocked, to say the least. Someone did an excavation, complete excavation of the property, and put up the temporary fencing. So this is very horrible, and something needs to be done. And I feel that the airport should try to put it back and pay for the expense. But then again, I also feel, in terms of punishment, if I went in and did that, they would fine me, and they would fine anybody else. There's no doubt in my mind. So something needs to be done about the situation. Things have kind of grown up within the cemetery, and so with the small tombstones, I would assume it was not visible, but knowing that it was a cemetery, someone was buried there. But to actually go in, and I can understand if one or two trees fell on a fence, but they took everything out of there.
I asked her, could digging up trees damage the entire gravesite?
You take up those trees, you're going to take up the roots. And then you're going to take up back then it was wood caskets. So what can I think? I mean, that would have to be a situation. When I talked to the director, he said he was the one who did that. His name is Greg Campbell.
We kind of just made that assumption. There was some fencing down in that area, and it kind of resembled some kind of family plot, private type cemetery. But we'd never really been able to ascertain who was there, what family was involved, that kind of thing. It predates really my time here, my 25 years, and probably goes back sometime in the 1800s if I had to guess.
Greg Campbell is the executive director of the Shenandoah Valley Regional Airport Commission. Campbell says the airport did complete its due diligence before tampering with the cemetery.
I remember seeing it here, and we never had anyone step forward, and that's part of the reason we had trouble figuring out exactly what it was about, because no one stepped forward during that time. But during that time, we continued to leave it undisturbed and just let it exist. But over time, unfortunately, nature took its course. We queried over the years, if anyone had ever remembered seeing anything, because again, we'd like to have known if there were folks in there. We'd like to have known who it was and maybe contact their relatives and see if they were interested in maintaining it. But we couldn't even ascertain that because there was no sign of who was there. There was no markers or anything that we could see.
Campbell admits replacing the fence, but denies seeing any tombstones at the gravesite.
Over time, it deteriorated and fell apart, and then finally, through a storm event, there were some trees around it. A tree fell on it and kind of finished it off. After that, some wildlife started to get in the area and disturb it, and we felt like that was unacceptable, so we went down and disassembled what was left of the old fence and put a better fence around it, which is just basically a standard farm type fence. It's not maybe aesthetically what was there originally, but at least to protect it from wildlife and people passing through that might disturb it.
Anybody could pull up the fencing and walk away. And thank goodness the site has been recorded with the Augusta County Sanitation Authority. It's on their plat that is indeed the location. So that's something that's very good and very valid to save us.
Campbell described his meeting with Allen about the burial plots.
We had a conversation. She's very upset. Apparently these are distant relatives of hers. I told her I was glad she stepped forward, even though she's not real happy with the state of things, that I was glad she'd stepped forward. I'm glad we had connection now with someone that knew apparently of what was there.
Allen has made it clear what she wants, And Campbell says he is willing to do what he can to put the graveyard dispute to an end.
I mean, we will do the responsible thing and maintain it, keep wildlife out, try to keep, people from trespassing in there that may cause further damage. But to go to sort of the next level, if they want a little nicer fence or they want to put some kind of marker or something there, that's something we feel like is really appropriate that the family would undertake. So we're glad that the family's come forward now and that can happen if that's important to them.
Well, I'd seek justice even if it wasn't about history. Any cemetery, this is totally wrong. I think that would be satisfactory in the sense that there's permanency. In terms of any violations or doing the wrong with the state statutes, I think the public should decide that. I mean, is there criminal activity? In my mind, yes, there's no doubt. Because as I said, if it happened to you, me, or John Smith down the street, we would be right in the courthouse. So I'm going to leave that up to the public.
In Weir's Cave, Elaine Rackley for Breaking Through News.